Hello, welcome to another video in this Airbnb Clone Ruby on Rails series. So this is part 20. In last video, we implemented this average rating using counter cache and directly fetching it from properties table. Now in this video, we'll work on the wishlist part. Okay, so let's see how it works. If you mark it as wishlist, it gets saved to a particular folder, so you can create sub categories for your wish list. Maybe like I have named it as test1, test2, test3, those categories. But for example, you can keep all Airbnb wish list of Africa in one folder, Europe in one folder, USA in one folder, those kind of things. And yeah, so that's how it works. But for our video series purpose, I'll reduce this to central wishlist only. We won't create these subcategories because I don't think that this feature is that important. At the same time, I want to reduce this video series length. And if at the end we do have enough time, we'll definitely implement this. So right now we'll keep it a central wishlist only, one single wishlist. So now let's have a look at this. Great. So let's start with the UI part first, and for this video I'll just focus on the UI part and then we'll implement the backend functionality. So we want a heart here, right? So let's start with our code. Let's go to our views, home index, and in that we have this swiper, right? This is our image swiper. Then we have this. Okay, so let's do one thing. Create a div, /div, cut this swiper code, paste it here and indent this correctly. Let's name this, let's copy this entire class from here and paste it here. Let's see. Okay, maybe this is creating issue. Let's get rid of this also. Yeah, now it's looking good. Let's create another div on this, div /div. Let's write hello and see if it's visible at the bottom. We want this at over this, so we will have to mention relative here so that we can use absolute here. But it's not visible. Z10, Z index 10 to make it on top of it. Again it's not visible, so left 0, top 0. Yeah, now it's visible, but we want it on the right side, so I'll write WRIT, right is 0. Save this and it's here. Now if we'll inspect this element, let's try to understand how much margin does it have. It is of size 24 by 24, so it looks like 16 px of margin. I'll write M4. Yeah, it got shifted. Now let me copy this element. Inspect. I'll copy this SVG, okay, directly, or you can find an icon on hero icons and copy it from there also. Copy element. Instead of hello, let's paste it here. Update this code a bit to better indentation. Let me do this quickly. Let's hide this. Sorry, refresh. Let me hide this. It's visible. We want a stroke also around this. Both of these have a stroke of 1px or 2px, I'm not fully sure. 2px, right? So let's add our Tailwind classes. I'm just writing few classes, not all of these. Display block, we'll write block, not comma, height 6, width 6. For this 24px, we can write h6 w6 from our Tailwind classes. Stroke color is not mentioned, but we'll write stroke white. Width is 2, so we'll write stroke 2, and that will automatically be this. And overflow, we can keep it like this, or you can go to Tailwind and see the correct code there. I'll keep this fill color for now, and let's see how it looks. Looks good, looks good. Now let's keep this fill color for now. Okay, now we have to do following things here. We want to change its color of this. For example, if I write fill primary, okay, I'll have to write it here. I'll have to get rid of sorry. If I write fill primary, it changes this color code, right? And if I write fill none, then it goes like this. Okay, so I want to control this basically. So how can we do that? We can create a stimulus controller for this element, basically this SVG element. Okay, now in that we'll catch the click action. So whenever this item gets clicked, we'll catch that so that we can change the color code accordingly. We'll catch the click action, and in third, update the UI. Okay, so let's start with this. Go to our JavaScript controller, create a new file, wishlist controller.js. Copy our hello world code here, paste it, and instead of this, let's write console.log wishlist connected. Okay, how can we connect this? We have a wishlist controller, right? So we can write data controller wishlist, and it should get connected. Let's check this. We should, whenever we are working with stimulus, always check that if it is connected. It is connected 6 times because we have 6 properties. So that's working. Now let's catch an action. Okay, so if you will go to stimulus.js, you will see we can catch an action using data action, click, then controller name and a function that we want to call. So let's try this out. Data action click, controller name is wishlist, and in that hash, right, hash, we want to call update wishlist status. Let's create this function here and write console.log clicked. Again refresh, clicked, great. So 2 steps are done. Now we just have to update the UI, right? So for that, let's try one thing first. This dot element dot class list, I'm not class list, I think class list dot add fill primary. Will this work? class list in JS. Let's try to remove this first and then see if this works. Yes, it worked. Great. So we can keep this default as fill none, and we can do it like this. Remove fill none. Now let's refresh. Great. Now we have to toggle this correctly. So for toggling this, we will have to get the current status also. So we can do this by data wishlist. Let's not write status. So what is the current status? Let's write false. This will come from our database, but for now we can write it as false, or you can write it as true, whatever you want. But default status is false for any property, so that's why I'm writing this as false. So let's catch this status also. This dot element dot data set. We can do this using data set. And what is the name of this data set? Status. The value should come as false. Click false. Let's change this to something random. Let's refresh, check, it is working. So let's write it as true. By the way, even though it is true and false, it is a string. So keep that in mind. So now we will do it like this. We don't need this console log. If our status is equals to true, we will do some work here. Okay, now let's cut this. Okay, so if our current status is true, that means it has already been added to our wish list. Let's write it as false actually, because the default is false. That would have a better iteration. So if current status is false, that means we want to mark it as wish to our wish list. So we'll remove fill none and we'll add fill primary. And in other case, it will be just opposite. We will add this and remove this. Okay, let's write remove first so that we know this correctly. Along with that, we'll have to make this one change. We'll have to update this status also, because we have changed the UI to primary. That means it has been marked as wish list. So we have to change this status to true. And in this case, it should be false. Let's see if this works. It is working. First time it is not working. Looks like that. I have clicked it for the first time. Okay, default status should be false. Let's try to do this. Now it is working first time also. Yeah. The issue was that this was true, but we were using fill none, so there was contradiction between these two. No worries. I think I can stop this video here now. We have updated our UI also. Now in next video we'll create a table and connect it with our database. Okay, so that's all for now. Again, this is a quick video on Stimulus.js, so have a look at that, and it controls 3 parts of Stimulus.js. One is the connection, second is the data set, third is the click action. So it doesn't control the targets. Other than that, it does have everything else. So it's a good tutorial for that also. Thank you. Bye bye.